Hi, everybody. Open meeting to order at, on Monday, October 28th, 2024 at 6 P.M. in the town hall. Can we have somebody that adopt the agenda as presented?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Kim, I'll turn this thing over to you.
This is pretty much a formality to, because we're in the process of bonding, or they call it a bond anticipated note that we're voting on November 5th. So according to our bond counsel, Eli Emerson, this is one of the requirements is to have an informational meeting before the actual vote, just like we would a town meeting. It's just to give an overall of what we're actually, what the article is that you guys have signed for the vote on Tuesday of next week. Do you have a copy of the article?
I don't know.
But I can get it up. And yeah, there is on. And if you had any questions on the bond, you can ask, and Gary's here to answer any questions that you may have on the bond. We've gotten an updated summary sheet, which I think Morgan's given you a copy of.
Yes, I have done
And the updated summary for the total price of this project is our share is $956,381.28 as of Friday. I have already, we had set aside $273,629 and been in the reserve for several years that we've been saving. Up to this date, according to the state figures, the town has already paid $602,303. So we're showing a remaining balance of $354,077.54.
Just say that number again, please.
Of what's remaining.
What is remaining?
$354,077.54 is remaining.
Thank you.
Assuming that there's no other unanticipated expenditures, which Gary could probably answer if there is, but we may not even know for sure until spring when they finish the rest of the project. So the is we're probably looking at a possible bond when all is said and done up to $700,000. So I will I'm working with Community Bank for what's called a line of credit for an anticipated bond. I will draw on that. That is good for 1 year. Once the project is done, interest will then revert to an actual bond. When we get closer to the bond process, I'll be able to have a better figure to give to Ken at the bond bank. Who will then project how many years, give me a schedule as to how many years we would like to go, what the interest rate would be. I can't really give a complete interest rate right now. Yeah, so it's a long process. Anybody have any questions?
And I just would say, we don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. If they wrote the bond down, then I don't know how we're gonna pay for it, so. It really is a foregone. I mean, it's unfortunate. We didn't pick the bridge, they picked it, and we have to pay 10%, and there's no negotiation, so.
Can we refresh our memory why we made a $700,000 bond when the remaining is $350?
Because the 602,000 that we've already paid, only 270, what did I say the other side? Only 273 was in a reserve. Everything else, we're kind of sliding by using whatever we have that's been sitting in our capital budget for equipment, things like that. We had unassigned funds, a balance of for unassigned monies after each audit, so I'm utilizing money that is for another cause.
Got it. Okay, so we've got to repay ourselves essentially.
Exactly.
For the cash we use that was budgeted for other things.
Yeah, I've worked it out, so we haven't been paying any interest yet, I've not drawn anything. But it's gonna come to a point that I'm going to have to, once we start buying our equipment.
Yeah.
And everything's eventually gonna come to a head.
Just one follow-up question. Did you say the line of credit for the bond was for 1 year and then it will convert?
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we know the interest?
Yeah, I
Right.
was just gonna ask the same
On the
question.
1
Do you have a sense on the interest
the
rate?
sense for the line of credit could be anywhere between 4 and 5, 6%, it all depends on when I actually, but that's for the line of credit. Now, the bonding is usually a lot less. The bond can be anywhere, depending, the longer years you go out, the higher the rate is. But talking to Ken today at the bond bank, off the top of his head, like right now, you could be looking at 3%. So it's a much better rate when you go through the bond bank. So we could be looking at more like a 3 for 10 years, 3.6 for 20 years, but we won't know that. It's election and it's a year away before. We can only apply for a bond twice a year. The winter bond is, application is due, relatively soon, I believe November, and then the summer bond is due in May. And you have to apply and then be accepted. And again, it'll work a lot, just like, the payments that we make on the town garage. There'll be a principal payment in November of every year, and there'll be 2 interest payments every year.
The 3% for 10 years, is that fixed?
It would be fixed, whenever we take out the bond, it would be fixed.
Well, not necessarily 3%.
Yeah, it's not-
It's not a number.
That was just kind of an example of what he was giving at this moment.
That would be a nice number.
So we're not close to,
I think the important thing to know is that the bond has a lower interest rate rather than going out for a line of credit or going to the bank.
right, and the reason we have to go for a line of credit is because you don't want to bond more than what is absolutely necessary, and we don't have a final figure yet.
Right.
From the state. So we're better off using a line of credit, and once we're familiar, know what we're gonna have at the end, then we'll bond that out.
So Kim, when we vote on November 5th for the bond, does it cover us, but does the vote, the approval by the town, cover us through the line of credit to the?
Yes, it's called a band, so it's a bond anticipated note.
Okay.
And so in the way the article is written, it is so that it is an anticipated bond, so we're voting yes for the line of credit with the anticipation to go into a bond.
Okay.
And that's the reason for the informational meeting, the vote. It needs to be advertised 3 consecutive weeks in the newspaper. There was resolutions that needed to be signed by the board, so.
Do we have any, I don't know, information on how the project's coming in general, when it might be over?
We're not scared. I think he's on, right?
Gary, can you
Yep.
hear us?
Yeah, I can. So I believe they were planning to pave last week. I hadn't heard from Vincent this week to know if they completed all the approach paving or not. We anticipated getting traffic over on the bridge very soon. And contractors gonna commence the other approach work and then get into the old bridge demo after that. I believe we're on track to wrap most everything up this fall and then do some minor do the finishing touches in the spring with turf establishment, final coats of pavement and so forth.
Thank you.
Great.
When does the light come down, Gary?
As soon as the bridge, as soon as you go over the bridge.
I don't know if we heard. Did you hear that, Gary?
So the before we get into winter maintenance is when the lights are supposed to come down. So you have two lanes of traffic over the new bridge for the winter.
Ready?
Can I ask, Gary, do we anticipate any other surprises like we found on Friday?
No.
Price wise?
There was some differentiating site conditions than originally anticipated. The contractor put the claim in for the $341,000, and that claim is currently under review. A lot of times we try to negotiate those numbers down. Contractors, they generally put in for everything but the kitchen sink. And then we negotiate down what's actually compensable. So it would be that number or less.
And was that itemized that he gave you?
Pardon?
The bill on Friday, was that itemized?
Well, it's included in the chart there, that's the differences in that chart compared to the chart. That was given to us in August.
Yeah.
Because
So there was several change orders throughout the construction of the project. And then the pending claim was the big ticket item.
Was that for the paving itself?
Now, wasn't that the drilling that changed this last pricing on Friday? Am I right?
Yeah, it was the drill shaft for the drilling. It was extraordinarily difficult. They had to pull the steel casing out of the ground, the original one they put in, and because all the teeth on the casing that were supposed to drill into the bedrock broke due to the more difficult site conditions, and then they had to mobilize heavier equipment in order to drive a brand new casing into the bedrock. And I sent Morgan a write up of explanation of what they put in for. Yeah, just so you had it for your information.
Any other questions for Gary or us or anybody? If not, thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
That would be, so the extra money is 300 and some thousand because of the drilling,
Yes,
and we owe 10% of that.
correct.
Okay, so that's 30,000 more that we would owe.
No,
Well,
because there's the feds and then
It only, I believe, comes to another $9,800 extra that was added on.
Okay. Or a new drill bit.
So Gary, will there be yellow lines or white lines for winter?
Yes, they're supposed to be doing the temporary painting before winter to carry through until the final coat of pavement is put on, and then the final line striping will be put on in the spring.
And is there a stop sign going on the bottom of Fisher Hill like was talked about in the very beginning or not? Is it gonna be wheeled?
It's supposed to be a stop sign. Apologies, I didn't have my camera on before. I thought I did.
Just to be really clear, so Kim, the additional money that we owe based on the surprise, however that turns out, that's already in the 354.
Yes,
Okay.
there could, because there was a 5% contingency, so they've used the 5%. Am I right, Gary? You've used the 5% contingency plus tacked on another 9,800 because it was just over the 5%.
Yep.
So no more hoping it comes in less from what the contingency, because they sucked.
I got it, thank you.
So the bond will ultimately be approximately 700 and some odd thousand.
700, just under.
So whatever.
It's- Yeah, it's just unless, like Gary said. And when they negotiate this, if they negotiate it, if it changes,
Yeah,
then I can bring the bond down.
right,
But my figure came to 690,724 is the possibility of needing to bond.
okay, so we're voting on the max. But we've already paid,
270,
okay,
yeah, exactly.
so the bond issue, the interest rate is not determined yet.
Right.
But it's like a municipal bond interest rate, it's lower than normal interest rates.
Much lower.
And is this now note that we're gonna have that we are responsible for, a balloon note? Is that amortized or is it a balloon note? How does it work? And the time period is, who decides, 5 years, 6 years?
On the actual bond,
Yeah,
that would be the board making a decision as to how long, the length of time.
and is it amortized? How are you gonna do that? That's my question, I guess.
I'll get a schedule from the bond.
Well, it's one thing to have just an interest rate payment every year. So whatever that number is, we can handle that, but eventually you have to pay the note off. And so how are we doing that?
The note turns into the bond will, with the figure, with the interest and whatever we used up. Will turn into a bond and they'll give us a scheduling as to how long we wanna go out, what the interest rate would be. What the interest payments would be, amortized on a yearly basis.
So
And
it is
paying,
amortized.
and paying down, yeah, and paying down the
So
principal,
every year we'll be paying some of this down.
exactly.
And at the end of 5 years, let's say, it'll be gone.
So Kim, did you say that we make a principal payment and 2 interest payments in any given year? So
Every-
one payment we make goes directly to principal?
Yes,
Okay,
like the town garage we borrowed, for instance, the town garage, we did a line of credit. And went through the bank at that, I think at the time, we were just over 3%, maybe 4. And we're paying $53,333 yearly for principal, and then we make just about $10,000 in interest. So it's split twice a year, so we pay that,
But the interest over time doesn't decline.
it does,
The amount, I'm talking.
The amount of it-
Not the rate,
not the rate, but the interest rate
does
each
decline
year
as we
declines,
pay.
yeah, as we pay.
Based on the new.
no, we're declining.
But your payments will be the same.
But the principal payment's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all new to me, I've never had a bond in 20 years, so I've always just
Never
done,
know it.
I've only done a line of credit, we've been talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pieces involved in this.
Yeah. Sounds like you have a good handle on it, Kim.
Any other questions? If not, any other business? If not, somebody make a motion to, public comment? Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Diane.
Can you tell me what the status is on the cemetery, village cemetery fence?
I don't know yet. It was supposed to be done this week. That's what I thought, I was gonna paint it and put it up.
All they said was it was painted and they're waiting for the paint to dry. They didn't say. it when it
No,
was done.
so we'll check on it, and have status report for the next meeting.
I'm hoping it's gonna be done before November 11th.
We hope so, that's the
Be
goal.
nice.
It's been a long time waiting, but it's been down for a while.
Okay, the next meeting is the budget meeting, which is tomorrow here at 4 p.m. And then, the next regular meeting is Monday, November 4th, 2024, here at 6 p.m. And then the following, meeting in mid-September, November will be the Philcom round. And that'll be going into the. That was in the news, correct? Yeah, so everybody will know and deal with that. Somebody make a motion to adjourn?
So, moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for coming.
We do,
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.